has actually happened at the festival before, that a competitor's car blew up. He bought another car in the auction and raced it the very next day. Not a frequent occurrence, I grant you, but there you go. Now then, are you a touring car fan? Sit down, Toby Moody, and other M3 fans, because we got a lot to go through here as we get ready for the Adrian Flux Trophy for the Motor Racing Legends Historic Touring Car Challenge. The what now? Let's find out a little bit more about it.
The Adrian Flux Trophy for MRL, Historic Touring Car Challenge, features the affectionately known tin tops, dating all the way back to the 1960s. There are some gems in today's field, like the Ford Capri RS 2600, piloted by the likes of Sir Jackie Stewart back in the 70s. Also out there is the iconic Sierra Cosworth RS 500, which dominated Group A in the 1980s, right through to the altogether more modern Nissan Skyline GTR that reigns supreme in the Japanese Touring Car Championship. So sit back and buckle up for the unmistakable sights and sounds of historic touring cars.
Harry, looking at the cars in front of you, you've got to be pretty pleased with where you're at, aren't you?
No, we're really pleased actually. You know, the car's going really well. It's prepped really well by Car Prep. It's a 72 Ford Escort Group 2 car, so it's punching above its weight, but it's a 50-minute race, so we've got to make sure we're there at the end. And
I hear your father's dumped you in it and you've got to do the whole lot yourself.
Yeah, well, lucky me. The shame I didn't get to the gym before the race, but yeah, we haven't got power steering or anything, so I've got to make sure I myself last the race, let alone the car.
And look, you're doing more than just racing this weekend. You've got some big auctions going on. Just give us some of the headline results so far.
Yeah, we've had a great 2 days so far. We had the competition cars with a Carlos Sainz Escort, made over £300,000, which is great. Yesterday we had a really good collector car sale. The Queen's Range Rover made over 150. So, and there were some other good results as well. So, and then we've got another auction today as well. So it's been a really busy weekend work-wise, let alone racing as well.
Yeah, I banned myself from going over there because I'll probably buy something I don't need or afford, and I can't afford. But look, have an amazing race. I'm sure you'll enjoy it.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Very well. Dad and Nick Well have often raced together and against each other in these touring car races. Nick is the boss of Iconic Auctions and has stepped down from driving with Harry, so Harry's got it all to do on his own. This is a two-driver pit stop race. Some cars, a few cars, have two drivers. In most, the drivers are doing everything. You saw Steve Soper BMW there, Steve Soper Racing here as well. There's all sorts of mouth-watering machinery, and Ed is talking to another one of our drivers.
Mike, fantastic to see the car up here. Just tell us, because this is one of my favourite cars, but they're not the easiest of things to keep racing, are they?
No, they are hard work, to be honest. They do slide about all over the place. High maintenance, but they're the best fun ever. So I love it. It's good fun.
And look, will this be pretty reliable for the race? I mean, do you need to look out for anything?
We're normally okay when we come here racing with it. We did have some brake issues on Friday. Hopefully we've cured it, but it's a 50-minute race. You just got to nurse it and keep it to the end, basically. So see what happens.
And how are you stacking up against the other Sierras and cars of a similar type?
Well, I think at the moment we're second. So, hey, if we can stay there, I'll be happy with that.
Well, look, enjoy it. Best of luck.
Thank you very much.
So lots and lots of mouth-watering machinery. Whatever era of touring car you sort of arrived at, it's going to be fun. James Hardy 1000 or Tui's 1000 Bathurst car there, driven in period by Gianfranco Brancatelli. And another British touring car champion. Now, one of the trophies that are going to be given away this weekend after this race will be the Andy Rouse Trophy. You just saw a Caliber Ford Sierra driven in period by Andy Rouse to the championship, in fact. But Andy will be here to present the trophy as well, the Andy Rouse Trophy, and that will be presented to, checks notes, the first Sierra to finish. 50 years now since Andy, I can't believe that, Andy Rouse's first British touring car title, 1975, and 40 since the debut of the Sierra in the series in 1985 when Andy won the British Touring Car Championship with it. Ex-Frank Gardner Camaro, in front of that the ex-David Leslie RML run, a Kyriakos Cavalier. Armin Harner, Jeff Allen and Denny Holm will have raced this Bastos car in the European Touring Car Championship, and I think the same trio possibly raced the car here at Silverstone in the Tourist Trophy, which at that stage was a Touring Car Championship race. A Japanese championship, Japanese GT Championship, Touring Car Championship rather, Nissan Skyline, one over a number. And going through beside the Sierra Cosworth, the Caliber car, you saw the Bastos liveried BMW 635. Now that is not a period car, it's a brand new build. Some of these cars raced in period, many of them raced in period. There are a couple of other brand new builds. One to talk about right towards the tail of the field, a brand new Mark 1 Escort. It's red with a gold roof, and the cognoscenti among you will know that that means it's an Alan Mann racing car. It's being driven by Alan's son Henry Mann, and Steve Soper. So cars heading out for the Asian Flux Trophy for MRL Historic Touring Car Challenge. It's a 50-minute pit stop race with the potential for 2 drivers, 43 cars on the grid from all sorts of areas. David and Olivier Hart's brand new BMW CSL, they cleared up the misfire, that qualified ahead of the Ford Sierra Cosworth of Julian Thomas. Wim Kool in his RS Capri, a former winner in the rain, ahead of Steve Soper in an ex-Steve Soper BMW M3. A slew of M3s and Sierra Cosworths mingling at the front of the field with the Chevy Camaro, started by Simon Watts, and that will be taken over by Al Buncombe. Among other names that you will spot, experienced historic racers like Martin O'Connell and Patrick Blakeney Edwards, and experienced Dirk Kool, in fact, is the man who won it, not Wim Kool. Experienced touring car racers, as well as like Andy Middlehurst, Mike Whitaker out in his Rover SD1. John Spears and Nigel Grinsell, hey, what a surprise, they're sharing a car together. And they're Henry Mann in a brand new version of the Alan Mann Racing Mark 1 Escort, and that will be shared later on in the race by Steve Soper. So Soper will start on row 2 of the grid in the ex-Steve Soper BMW M3. That's the BMW Fina liveried car there. And he will then pit that car, hand over to its co-driver Toby Partridge, and wait for Henry Mann to bring in the Escort, which he will then take over later in the race, a lap or so later, you imagine. So the front row, it is the Bastos BMW on pole. Now, what's happened to Big Frank's Camaro? Has that not gone anywhere? Has it struck a problem? Or is it for some reason having to start from the back of the grid in the pit lane? I'm not sure. But it is the BMW CSL on pole position. Another generation step newer is Julian Thomas's Caliber liveried Ford Sierra RS 500, raced in period, designed, built, developed and raced to the championship by the great Andy Rouse. We get ready to go. Red lights are on for the start of 50 minutes of touring car frenetic action. The Asian Flux Trophy gets underway. The BMW on pole position. It is David Hart who starts, and alongside him Julian Thomas driving in his own Sierra Cosworth. The car built in period by Andy Rouse. The white and blue Ford Capri RS 1300. Wim Kool jumps into 3rd place from 3rd on the grid, and then the Eggenberger Sierra moves up. That's Mike Manning in the black car with a Texaco livery. Ahead, that's a car Steve Soper drove in period, or a team for which he drove in period, ahead of Steve Soper in car number 5, an ex-Steve Soper BMW.
So we're seeing here sort of an early BMW leading the race, and then the later M3s in the pack just behind the first of the Sierras. What a wonderful sight this is, a very large grid indeed coming down the Wellington Straight. We see one of the Camaros there dwarfing some of the other cars, but it's, the leader is David Hart, who has started. So that Camaro, yeah, twice the width of a BMW M3 almost. That is the Simon Watts Alex Buncombe ex-Frank Gardner Camaro. The ex-Frank Gardner Camaro in identical livery that was in the pit lane is not the car that started in 6th place on the grid, as you can plainly see. So the other one being the Shepherd car, I think, isn't it? Yeah. So is that David Hart? Yes. It is David Hart that started. So David and Olivier Hart will share this car, but here comes Wim Kool. Wim Kool
winner in a very crazy wet race, took an early pit stop, benefited from the safety car, and then it came out in front, and we thought, well, the timing screen can't be right, maybe that's not right. He ended up winning the race to his surprise, and I think largely to everybody else's as well. So this is an all-Dutch battle at the front of the field. Wim Kuijl and David Hart right behind him. Then Julian Thomas. Julian Thomas already with a scintillating race win yesterday afternoon in very different machinery, and he was absolutely champing at the bit to go back out in the caliber Ford Sierra, and that's just sitting under a little tent right beside the restaurant here in the old pit lane at Silverstone. So if that is your era of touring cars, then go and have a look at it. The ex-David Leslie Ecuria Cost Cavalier has rolled to a halt, run by John and Gary Pearson, the brothers who have just won in their E-Type Jaguar the Tourist Trophy. A little bit of smoke coming off the Eggenberger Sierra, quite a lot of smoke coming off the Eggenberger Sierra, lots of flames coming out of the Count Sonic Nissan, lots of noise coming out of the Frank Gardner Camaro. There's lots of superlatives in that sentence.
Well, the battle for the lead here is perfect for the period, because the mid-70s, it was BMW versus Ford. Ford built originally the 2.6 litre Capri, which was then roundly beaten by the BMW, the type that is leading the race. So Ford came back with the 3.1 litre Capri, which is the type that Wim Kuijl is driving behind. So this was the battle of the titans of touring car racing at the time. Ford versus BMW. The CSL BMW that David Hart is driving won the European Touring Car Championship, which was the championship, for 6 times, 1973, and then from 75 through to 79. Really dominant, and Spa 24 Hours 4 times as well, so it was the car to have. But Ford eventually brought out the 3.1 litre Capri and actually beat the BMWs.
Yeah, and that distinctive flared body style that later Capris ended up with as the X-Pack. That was the shape of the Cologne Capris. They were built at Ford's units in Cologne in Germany to beat BMW, and it was Jochen Neerpasch, the former head of BMW Motorsport, who was poached away by Ford to take over their racing department, that really lit the blue touch paper under the RS 3100. So Wim Kuijl right behind David Hart, and as you say, absolutely a battle of rivals in period. The missing year, 74 rather, I think that was the final win for Alfa Romeo in the European Touring Car Champion. Twan Hazelman's a 3-time champion for Alfa Romeo at the beginning of the 70s. And behind them, of course, another Ford, Julian Thomas, and another 2 generation steps later, a decade and a half later, the Sierra Cosworth. And Andy Rouse is the man responsible for the Sierra Cosworth, because looking for he was always a man to look for a car that was suitable to go to British saloon car racing, British touring car racing, and he found that in South Africa, the newly introduced Sierra, which had a 1600 or a 2-litre engine in Europe, came with a 1.6-litre turbo engine, the Ford Mercure. And that was the car that he brought turbocharging to the British Touring Car Championship with. Ford, having seen the success of that, decided that a fast Ford with a Cosworth-tuned 2-litre turbocharged engine would be the way to go, and that begat the Ford Sierra Cosworth, which then, through racing, developed even more power to the RS 500.
And the connection with the Capri goes through Cosworth, because Jochen Neerpasch, as you say, was poached away to run the Ford team, and he said, well, we need a bigger engine, more powerful engine, and he went to Cosworth to design it. So the Capri engine in number 53, designed by Cosworth, and of course we know through the name of the Ford Sierra Cosworth that that was a Cosworth development engine done for Ford for that particular car.
Yeah, absolutely. Fastest lap of the race there from Wim Kuijl, 2:13.484 on that lap, 2:13.585, so 0.101 slower was the BMW. 1/10 and 1,000th of a second on a lap of the Grand Prix circuit that's taking them nearly 2¼ minutes. That's not much between these cars. They're so evenly matched in terms of performance, and they're so evenly matched in terms of their drivers as well.
And in period, this type of Capri, the wonderful big arch 3.1 litre Capri, driven by the likes of Jochen Mass and Rolf Stommelin and Klaus Ludwig, Hans Heyer. And you mentioned Hazeman's already. He was there in this car as well. So a great roster of drivers that Ford employed to try and beat BMW.
And of course the next step was to turbocharge the Capri, and that's where Peter Zakowski and Zach Speed came in with a very much lower space frame shape and the 1.4 litre turbo engines, the fire-breathing Zach Speed Capris. But that's for another day, another generation. Just looking at one of the Rover SD1s, the Patrick Motor Group car. How far up the order is that? Steve Soper, by the way, still in 5th place in the car that he started, the BMW. And here is Fred Shepherd in the this is the ex-Frank Gardner, one of the two ex-Frank Gardner Camaros, or was it? That's not the car I think that was stationary in the pit lane. However, they are now working their way through traffic. You can see another championship winning car on the right-hand side, CHMS on that Toyota Corolla. CHMS, Chris Hodgetts Motorsport, won the up to 1600cc championship in the British Touring Car Championship, and in those days it was a multi-class championship, and whoever had the most points at the end of the season in any class was the champion. Andy Rouse did that to great effect in smaller capacity cars, particularly with the Alfa Romeo V6 in the up to 2.5 litre class. He won the category against all the 3 litre Capris. He was champion in that. He was champion in a Triumph Dolomite, and Chris Hodgetts was the overall champion in a 1600cc rear-wheel drive Toyota Corolla.
I think Chris drove that car recently. I saw a post on his Facebook page with a big smile on his face. Oh, the dear.
Now that looks like a suspension collapse rather than anything else. Now he's going to try and look for a place of safety. The orange barrier on the right-hand side is where you need to pull over, and the car's going to try and turn hard right anyway. I think he's actually going to try and make it back to the pit lane rather than abandon the car trackside. David Hart, Wim Kuhl, that is your lead battle. Kuhl by name, I should think he's probably feeling fairly warm by now. It's a hot afternoon or morning here. Still morning? I haven't had lunch, so it's still morning here at Silverstone. Both these cars will be pretty physical to drive.
And that car started by its owner, Ernie Graham, but to be handed over, but I don't think it will be now, to Colin Turkington. So Turks won't get a run in the BMW, unfortunately, a car I know he enjoys driving in historic racing. Yeah,
that's a real shame. Similar livery to the cars run by BMW GB in the British Touring Car Championship for the likes of Jonathan Palmer and Swedish driver Nettan Lindgren. Now, Wim Kuhl just overcooking a little bit there. David Hart with a much tidier line in the BMW. Does that mean that the Capri is starting to struggle for grip or brakes? Now then, the ex-David Leslie Cavalier continues on its happy way. I'm very glad to see that. That car run in period by RML after they lost the factory Vauxhall deal to 888. RML fielded the car funded by Kyriakos, run by Hugh McCaig. 2 drivers, David Leslie and Bobby Verden-Rowe was the second driver. Sorry Bobby, just escaped me for a moment there. And that's one of the ex-David Leslie car. Very effective they were too. And the leaders go by with no major dramas.
Oh yes.
Having said which, major drama.
I think there was a touch there.
I think there might just have been. We might have to see that again, but David Hart in a big lurid spin there, or half spin in Copse. A big moment.
I think we saw Wim Kuhl lock up as he went into Copse.
I think Julian Thomas went through there as well. Let's take a look again. Kuhl on the inside.
Yeah, locked the front right wheel.
Yeah, there was contact. You're absolutely right. So very unfortunate. He was taking the tight line, trying to get a move down the inside. The door was open, but unfortunately on the dirtier part of the track, it's a little dustier and there's rubber there. Wim Kuhl looking up, I beg your pardon, locking up. And Wim Coyle has given the position back, but I think he's got a puncture. He has got a puncture, and it's a long way back. He's getting to the Formula One pit lane, but that's not his pit lane as he comes through Copse with that flat tyre. Now, just being reminded by Ian behind me, who's been online, or possibly remembers that Ecuria Cross Cavalier in 1993, when David Leslie was still driving it. It wasn't Bobby Verdon Rowe, it was Harry Nuttall who was driving the second car. Bobby did drive the Ecuria Cross Cavaliers. 94 or 92? 92, right, there we go. That's great for radio, isn't it? A radio conversation while watching telly. Well, what a shame for Wim Coyle, and that is really going to put the kibosh on that car's run. It was such a good battle. When's the pit window open, by the way?
The pit window is open at 15 minutes into the race,
which is 35 minutes to go. We've just crossed 38 minutes to go. The new leader is Julian Thomas. So Julian Thomas in the Andy Rouse Ford Sierra RS 500, the Caliber liveried car number 10, won the championship in period. Undoubtedly won here at Silverstone as well. And of course, one of the highlights for everybody of the British Grand Prix meeting here at Silverstone was the massive British Touring Car Support Race, which more often than not proved to be very adventurous in terms of incident as well as the extra add-ons.
And going back to your point earlier about the class structure of the British Touring Car Championship at that time, the Ford Sierra Cosworth, absolutely dominant. It won lots and lots of races, pretty much every race really, but it only won the championship once in 1990 with Rob Gravitt at the wheel.
That's right, yes.
So despite winning 9 out of the 12 races in 87, and every race, I thought I'd read that somewhere, every race from 88 to 90, it only won the championship once. Unlike the Nissan, which we're looking at here, which is the turbocharged four-wheel drive Nissan R32, known as the Godzilla, because the Australians said it's a monster from Japan.
And it breathes fire.
And it breathes fire, yes. Turn the boost knob up and you can get something like 1,000 brake horsepower.
And that might not be the issue with this car, the Eggenberger Sierra, the ex-Klaus Ludwig Steve Soper car. It was smoking from the start of the race. It is still smoking, and it is slipped over on its own oil, I think. Had a little bit of a spin there. That car, I seem to remember, was smoking in qualifying as well, driven by Mike Manning.
We did have a report that it had, yes, I think it's a puncture, Martin, because we had a report earlier on, the tyre was rubbing on the bodywork, which was that bit of smoke we saw earlier.
The smoke, okay.
It's obviously rubbed through and the tyre's gone now.
Or maybe it is something else, because although it was bumping as it came in, it's coming in, now he's got it fired up again. Rudy Eggenberger's team ran the Ford Sierra Cosworth in Group A in the European Touring Car Championship back at the beginning of the 90s. They raced at places like Bathurst as well, trying to get the wheel off. It is, of course, absolutely red hot. Gloves or a hoodie or something or anything.
No air jacks on these cars.
No.
So having to use the old trolley jack there.
And of course, they can pull it off. It's on a single hub in the centre, so a centre lock wheel, but it's absolutely red hot. They can literally hear us, as you can hear the commentary in the background there. And so, yeah, they've done exactly that, gone to get a bit of clothing to protect themselves. That's why you see a lot of mechanics with a set of gloves handy, because things like brakes, wheels, tyres, exhausts are very hot. And yeah, tyres are very hot as well. If you touch a slip when it's been up to temperature, it will burn your fingers. They are very hot.
And too early for the, I think they came in just before the pit window opened, I shall be able to tell you. Yes, they did. So it's quite unfortunate, because they could have done their mandatory pit stop but a little early.
Well, Mike Manning's tyre rub was not the smoky issue, I don't think. He's had a glug of water, but there you go. There's the 4-litre turbocharged Sierra Cosworth RS 500, 4-cylinder, 2-litre, not 4-litre, 4-cylinder turbocharged engine. As you see, driven in period by Klaus Ludwig and Steve Soper. And Mike Manning's race in this one, I'm afraid, is over. It was blowing smoke right from the start, and it was in qualifying, and I don't think that was tyre rub. I think that was oil smoke. So the tyre is a secondary consideration, same for Wim Coyle here as well. Now, although the pit window is open, unfortunately, he did come in before the pit window opened. They don't have a stack of tyres ready to go on because this is not a race in which you're expecting to change tyres. So, unfortunately, they've had to go out to the back of the garage and probably into a trailer somewhere to find a wheel and tyre. So here's two very different generations of British touring cars as well, not that far apart. The RS 500 and the Rover SD1. So the 3.5 litre Rover SD1 turned into quite an effective race and rally weapon, not least by TWR, Tom Walkinshaw Racing, Sanya Rovers in the British Touring Car Championship, and Bastos Rovers in the European Touring Car Championship. Now, we talked about Wim Coyle in his RS 3100. Here's Dirk Coyle in his RS 3100 up to 12th position, and he started quite a long way further back, and I'm trying to find where, but
29th.
Okay, 29th. Yes, he has made up 17 places. Harry Whale, by the way, in the yellow-black Escort, up to 10th place now. So really good run from him on the grid. So Harry up from 16th.
And Olivier Hart now getting into the BMW, his dad getting out. And by the way, Dirk Kuhl is Wim's dad. So two fathers and sons, but they're in different cars in this one. And leader, I nearly said Andy Rouse then. Julian Thomas.
Easy mistake to make it. It's like seeing a Listerine BMW. You're going to say Tim Harvey. It's just the way that. And actually, by the way, who's got one? Where are they? Haven't seen a Listerine BMW. And oh, there you go. We just bigged him up, and he appears to be facing very much in the wrong direction. Now, has he just rolled off there? So David Hart came in, Olivier Hart will take the car back out, just dropping the air pressure a little bit in the tyres. You put more pressure in when the tyres are cold, helps them warm up, but as the pressure rises, as the temperature rises, Hermatite Capri there, in fact not a Hermatite Capri, a Black & Decker Capri in the pit lane, and in the background the black and yellow car of Harry Whale. Dad Nick has decided not to drive. So the wheel goes back on to Wim Coyle's car, and he will go out and I imagine come straight back in because he doesn't want to miss the pit window. Rick Wood in second place now in the Calsonic Nissan. Now that car won in the rain a couple of years ago, didn't it?
It did, yes, and that's going to be taken over by reigning British Touring Car Champion Jake Hill. So he won't be slow.
No, he does love an oddity, Jake Hill, doesn't he? How much horsepower? Too much? What, you mean too much or much too much? Much too much. Oh yeah, I'll definitely drive that. He does love an oddity. And then Steve Soper up to third place in his BMW, car number 5. So who's driving? There are two, I think, Patrick Motor Group Rovers, the blue, white and yellow livery that raced in British Touring Car Championship.
That's
Which one is that?
Mike Whittaker is the number 6 car. That was leading the Tony Dron Trophy, and
that's double digits, I think. Now, this is a car that's had a lot of success here as well. From 14th, David Tomlin. Now, yes, the pit stops are underway, but he's up into the top 5 at the moment. So it is Julian Thomas who leads in the Andy Rouse Sierra. Rick Wood in a car of a different era, just a very slightly post-Sierra Cosworth era, the Calsonic Nissan. And basically took over, particularly in Australia, took over ruling the roost in the Australian Touring Car Championship and at Bathurst in Peter Jackson livery. The team particularly effective, and of course it didn't race in British touring cars because four-wheel drive was banned. It raced in the National Saloon Car Championship extremely effectively in the hands of Andy Middlehurst, who then became the go-to man in the UK 30 years ago for anything and everything Skyline, and remains very much so. I did get a message earlier on yesterday that a Nissan GT3 is not a Skyline. Any Nissan GTR is a Skyline. I'm sorry, that's just the way it is. They may not actually be, but they certainly are.
This is the leader of the Tony Dron Trophy, which is the number 31, the Chevrolet Camaro, shared with James Thorpe and Phil Quaife. They started in 26 on the grid, but this is a race within a race. James Thorpe did do the opening stint. It hasn't been into the pits yet. Or is it coming in now? Yes, it is,
coming
as
in
I
now.
speak. Thank you very much, James. So the number 31 leading Camaro in the Tony Dron Trophy, named after the racing driver and journalist Tony Dron, who was very successful in all sorts of touring cars, but particularly we remember him for the Triumph Dolomite.
Yep. So Julian Thomas also into the pit lane. Rick Wood, I think, will have to peel off now and head into the pits. Does he or does he not? No, not this time round. So going round one more time under the old timekeepers. And there is Harry Well. He's come back out. Harry Well with another Skyline behind him, but there is the man who came in from the lead. Now has David Hart made it round and come back into the pit lane again? Not yet. Still have a number of cars. Rick Wood, Steve Soper, the Freitas Liberal BMW, car number 7. That's the one with the... how many colours of paint have we got? Right, we'll use them all, livery. Then the Red Tortoise. That is the Sierra Cosworth, the Tomlin car number 17. So the first 14 cars to come by, including Davin Olivier Hart's car. No, that has stopped, rather. So the one Wim Kuil, he's not on our screen yet. Henry Mann has yet to stop. I think Steve Soper has to stop first, doesn't he? The car that's in third place. Then he'll be waiting in the pit lane when Henry Mann comes in that Escort. If Henry Mann comes in first, then it'll be waiting for Steve Soper to arrive, which seems like not the best use of time.
And a little bit of an extra long stop for Steve Soper, because he's obviously a very experienced touring car and GT driver.
Now he can use the extra time that car will remain stationary to walk down to the car that he's going to have to get in.
That one has to stop for longer as well.
Because both,
yes.
Exactly, both cars he's driving will have to stop for longer.
Yeah.
So, yes. But it gives him time to make the walk, so he doesn't have to park next to it.
And the 123 Calsonic Nissan also has to stop for longer, because Jake Hill, reigning British touring car champion, to take that over, that's actually got to stop for an extra 30 seconds. So a 60-second stop for anybody else, an extra 30 for this car.
Now just ahead of the yellow and black Ford Escort and Mike Whitaker's Rover, we saw another famous livery on a Capri. So this is the car that is currently lying second in the Tony Dron Trophy. The Fabergé Capri, that's the green and black car that's just ahead of this little group of cars. And that car has plenty of history as well. Into the pits comes the Rover. And this is an early version of the Racing SD1, because it hasn't got the big chins, chin spoilers and everything else that it grew later on. And wheel arches that were questioned in their legality through the courts. So in comes car number 5 and car number 7, the two M3s that were running second and third. Rick Wood stays out. Clearly not going to give Jake Hill much of a go in it, is he? Well, it's a 50-minute race, 25 minutes still on the clock, so he's going to come in halfway through, isn't he?
I think it might be something to do with the fact that he's now in the lead of the race, so somebody can take a photograph of the timing screen and say Rick Wood was leading the race.
Well, he's won the race before, so...
Oh, absolutely.
Steve Soper being very relaxed about getting out the car. Saw somebody else, I'm not sure who it was, clearly sharing cars, jogging along. Yeah, there's the Brute 33 Fabergé car, and that was that raced in the Tour of Britain? I have a feeling it was. I think it's
Stuart Graham always ran Fabergé.
I have a feeling that's an ex-Stuart Graham, because he certainly did it with a Camaro, didn't he? I have a feeling that was a later version of that, Stuart Graham. That's a Group 1 Capri. More notes coming in from somebody who's got a better memory than I. So Rick Wood continues. Oh, and trouble for another one of our Rovers. That is car number 27, and that is Alfredo de Albuquerque Valle. So that car, a 1981 SD1. Again, you can see the bigger wheel arches, the air dams, the rear spoiler and so on. So a much more developed version of the car that originally debuted in a much cleaner look. So Charles Rainford driving this car, another well-known name in historic circles.
Well, he's current BTCC driver for BMW. for the what sort of works BMW team, if you like, in British touring cars, and has had a race win as well, new to the series, so he's done very well, and he's in that Brute 33 Capri. He actually came out, I think it was his first race in that car at Donington in May, and absolutely loved it, really got on very well indeed. And he is currently where in the running order?
I wonder if he can say splash it on all over like Barry Sheen and Henry Cooper. Ask your father. In fact, for some of you, ask your grandfather.
4th in Tony Dron Trophy by the looks of it for Charles Rainford. In comes the Nissan, so Jake Hill will be out shortly, and that doesn't look great for the Pearson XRML. Oh, that's a drive shaft or a gearbox problem, isn't
I
it?
thought he was cranking over the engine as they're pushing it along and waiting to get up to some speed to drop the clutch, but I think they were pushing it rather too fast for a drive shaft to be clattering so quickly. So Jake Hill takes over the Calsonic Nissan from race leader Rick Wood. Kazuki Hoshino and Toshio Suzuki race this in period. So this should be the All Japan GT Championship, or Touring Car Championship rather.
It's a car that was built by Rick Wood, but to the same colours as that car, not an original car. In fact, the one original car we normally see racing, I haven't seen out in this race. All the others have been built by Rick Wood. And the Capris as well. Rick Wood builds those as well. It's a very, very good workshop there up in the northwest. As Julian Thomas now is back out again after his stop. Not yet back onto the lead in the timing screen, but of course we've got to let the pit stops unwind. And
behind him, of course, we've got 2 different generations of European touring car racing BMW. Coming up behind is Olivier Hart in the 1970s CSL, but behind him, in front of him rather, is the 1980s 635 CSI, which is a very effective weapon in the European Touring Car Championship against the likes of the Volvo 240 Turbo and all sorts of others. Ford Sierra as well.
You'll remember that Julian Thomas took the lead when there was a bit of a tangle at Copse Corner, and David Hart lost time recovering from that, and now it's Olivier Hart on board. Now, is Olivier quicker than his dad? We might find out.
I think we know the answer already. In the background, in the inset shot, by the way, is the red and gold Escort. That's Henry Mann. He's brought it in to hand over to Steve Soper. Henry Mann, the son of Alan Mann, who set up his racing team in the 1960s and chose that very distinctive livery for everything he did. Everything he did was predominantly everything he did for Ford.
Jake Hill now on board the Rick Wood Nissan, number 123. That was in the lead when it came into the pit lane, but obviously dropped down. Now it's showing as 5th, but we'll have to wait till things unravel themselves. But I did notice that Olivier Hart has set the fastest lap of the race on his first flying lap out after the pit stops, a 2:12.3, and Julian Thomas's best time to date is a 2:14.1.
So the Bathurst Sierra Cosworth, car number 1, is our current race leader, driven in period by Gianfranco Brancatelli, and the only man to win a British Touring Car Championship in a Sierra Cosworth, Rob Gravitt. Into the pit lane comes the British Touring Car Championship liveried ex-Steve Soper BMW M3, the E30 version of the first of the M3s, the 4-cylinder M3. And Steve Soper, very effective in that car. He came in the 2nd year of competition, the first year with Jonathan Palmer and Netton Lindgren. And then Steve Soper drafted in at that stage. Before and after, he was a BMW factory driver for many, many years. And another of the ex-Steve Soper cars is sitting there up on the stands, isn't it? Now, this car has yet to stop, which is why we find it in the lead. But hey, if you're going to be, if everybody else is going to go in front and you take the lead, why not?
Well, the pit window's closed. So
okay, well, that's why not. Scott O'Donnell appears to have rather mistimed that then.
So he'll get a penalty for a late stop. We've got a couple of short stops as well, but we'll wait and see what happens about those.
Okay, so he does appear to rather have neglected the fact that there is a pit stop that must be taken. Just gone by another of those championship winning cars, the Chris Hodgetts liveried CHMS Toyota Corolla. won the championship in the 1600cc category, or from the 1600cc category. Now here comes David Hart, and the gap to Julian Thomas is now 2.6 seconds. He's gone by the Sierra Cosworth and is driving around the outside of the Camaro. So, beg your pardon, Olivier Hart. David Hart did the first part of the race, didn't he? Olivier Hart with the white helmet and the bright yellow gloves, showing how busy he is behind the wheel. It's a brand new car, freshly built. This is its first race. They had problems with the misfire in the fuel injectors, and a little bit of a differential problem as well in testing. And you can see the Sierra Cosworth back there at the tail of the shot. That car currently in second place. This one, well, was still out front, but had not stopped, and unfortunately comes into the pit lane after it should have done so. Scott O'Donnell in his 1988 RS 500.
And the two short stops that are likely to get penalties, I'm afraid it's the leader of the Tony Dron Trophy is one of them, and that's the Camaro number 31, which seems to have taken a stop at the standard length, but because Phil Quaife has taken over, they had to stop for an extra 30 seconds. So unfortunately a little mistake there from the team. And Darren Fielding, number 8, who is up in 9th place, he was the winner here last year in this equivalent race, and he missed the minimum time by less than a second, about 0.8 of a second short on his stop. So unless that's rescinded, that will cause a 31-second penalty.
Oh, look at the thundering Camaro harassing the BMW down the straight, and then not having the grip to do anything about it on the exit of the corner. Again, it will, that bit of elastic will shorten on the straight bits and stretch out again through the twisty bits.
So this, the Camaro here, number 31, is on the timing screens leading Tony Dron Trophy. We'll leave it up to the officials to decide whether there's a penalty to be had there, but certainly showing up on our screen as a short stop for that car, which, if that's the case, who's second in Tony Dron Trophy? It's Mike Whittaker.
Mike Whittaker, yeah, in his
Patrick Motors Group Rover.
In the PMG Rover, so a rare win for the Rover in this illustrious company. Now, the other Rover that's spun is just ahead of these cars, I think. Yeah, there it is in the Marlborough livery. It seemed to be trailing a little bit of smoke as it came out of Stowe, not quite sure why. Here's Jake Hill, car number 1, 2, 3. Starting to make his way back up the order. And that car in 4th place. So it's Olivier Hart who leads in the BMW. It wasn't Smokey was trailing, it might have been, but it's lost a bit of a wheel arch. So looks like there's been, was there contact that led to that spin? We saw the car facing the wrong direction briefly, might well have been.
That's usually a mini thing, isn't it, with a little trim hanging off above the wheel, but in this case it's the Rover SD1.
So there is the Patrick Motor Group car. Patrick Motor Group, big group of dealers in the Birmingham Midlands area. Again, 3.5 litre Rover chasing 3 litre Capri and being harassed by the BMW behind, 2 litre BMW. Now here is Steve Soper again.
Yeah, this is the, yes, he's taken over this car from Henry Mann. Now this car built by Alan Mann Racing and Boreham Motorworks, and it's an absolute copy of the 1968 car driven by Frank Gardner to win the British Saloon Car Championship. They're going to build 25 of them, well, another 24 because this is number 1, and yours, sir, for £300,000. Very nice indeed. And there's a nice little video online. You can see Henry talking about this car, and it is a perfect copy of the car. Everything has been built exactly as it was in 1968.
Yeah, it's a great looking thing, isn't it? And to get a brand new 1968 Alan Mann racing car. 300,000 is possibly a bit more than they were in period. I mean, obviously given inflation and everything else.
Yes.
But yeah, it's a fine-looking thing.
And as always with the genuine Alan Mann cars, as we said, I think you mentioned it a couple of times yesterday, down the side of the car on the gold section of the side of the door, Alan Mann brackets Byfleet.
Yeah, Alan Mann, Byfleet, Surrey. He had to put the phone number on though, I suppose, or a telex number, as you probably would have had more usefully in those days. Now Rick Wood closing in on the third place, Sierra Cosworth in front of him. That's why the yellow flags were out. That's our Mercedes 190E. I'm sure a lot of you have seen that going around. Saw it very briefly in qualifying, and that is the car of Samuel Verhagen in the black and silver tobacco livery.
So change there in the loop if Jake Hill can hang on to it, which he can. He moves up into third place. David Tomlin down to fourth place in the Sierra Cosworth. Oh, and handily just catching the Steve Soper Alan Mann Racing Escort.
Yep. Which, despite having a 2-litre BDA, which probably makes it feel very lively indeed, does not have the turbo horsepower of the Nissan and the Sierra Cosworth. No turbo horsepower either on board with David Olivier Hart's BMW 3-litre CSL. Still the race leader. Gap over Julian Thomas's Andy Rouse Caliber Sierra is now out to 7.2 seconds. And into the pit lane comes Jake Hill with a big problem. And that looks like there is no fire in the hold. He's banging it down gears to try and get it to run again, and it's spraying water out of the front. So it's spraying water actually out of what was the hole for the bonnet pin, I think. That's why there was a tiny little jet of water coming out the top of the bonnet. So back up into fourth, or into third rather, comes David Tomlin in car number 17. David starting in 13th place in the RS 500. We've had a few of those, haven't we? Make a pass, car brakes.
Yes.
All those stickers on the side of it on both rear windows, by the way. Of course, those are number stickers for Goodwood for the Festival of Speed. So this car has been seen an awful lot in historic racing, and also an awful lot, there's half a dozen on the other side as well, at the Goodwood Festival of Speed. And again, thank you to the marshals. I know one of you's got a headset on, the other one hasn't though. Thank you to everybody in the Orange Army all weekend, and at every racetrack in fact, for keeping the drivers safe, despite the best efforts of all the drivers to imperil themselves, and for making sure that we get to see some fantastic racing as well. Without the volunteers in the Orange Army, there would be no motorsport. If you're watching racing and you're a real enthusiast, you could do a lot worse than become a marshal and get right close to the action and actually take part in the running of the meeting as well.
Another example of the Mark II Escort there. That's a couple of friends of ours that have raced a number of times this weekend. Bon Grimes and Johnny Molem in the Mark II RS 1800. That car took over the mantle of the Mark I Escort, particularly in rallying, but also in racing when it was developed for racing, and this similar to the cars that were raced in period.
Now they're third in the up to 2-litre class. It is Harry Whale who leads the 2-litre class in 7th place overall in the yellow and black Escort, and in 2nd place in the car class 377 Frank Guest in the white Mark II Escort. And Bon Grimes, I'm sure Johnny Molem took over. Did Grimes start it? He normally starts everything, so Johnny Molem, I'm sure, in that car. So there is Harry Whale leading his class in the up to 2-litre category. They are 2-litre BDAs, but they're 1968cc or something, so up to 2 litres. BD, belt-driven A series, another of the wide-ranging variety of Cosworth engines.
That style of engine used in throughout the Escort range in rallying and racing. Now we have a yellow flag there still. That can't still be for the Mercedes.
Tristan Judge up from 30th on the grid in the BMW CSL. BMW CSL Rover SD1, that is very much a period battle as well. So likes of Frank Sittner racing CSLs famously in a British Touring Car Championship. And Jeff Allen and a number of others racing Rovers for Tom Walkinshaw. In the pit lane is our race leader, Olivier Hart. Now, what has happened to the BMW? Fastest lap of the race, and with the comfortable lead. Let's see, it seems like it might still have some new car woes. Leaning in on the left-hand side is David Hart. And that, well, nothing much we can do about it. Off you go, mate. So off he goes. Maybe it needs an Italian tune-up.
Well, it'll be interesting to see how far. Well, we can see now. Julian Thomas coming onto the hangar straight. Olivier Hart just coming out at Copse Corner from the pit lane. So quite a big lead now for Julian Thomas. Will David Tomlin have got through? I think not. I think it looked like Olivier might have got out ahead of the number 17 Sierra, because he was 48 seconds behind Julian.
Rather depends how quickly Olivier Hart can make the BMW go now for the remaining 7 3/4 minutes. There is David Tomlin, and goes by the 635 CSI, but where is the 3-litre CSL, the Bastos car? If you're trackside, have you just seen it come out of the Chapel Curve and onto the hangar straight? Well, there's another Bastos car, but that is the Bastos Rover. Was car number 7 in period, car number 71, and that is Alan Dippy in 86, beg your pardon, Bastos Rover. And the likes of Wim Percy, Armin Hana, and a whole host of other stars who have raced those for Tom Walkinshaw. There is Bastos Belga, slightly older, earlier Belgian sponsors.
Yeah, different cigarette brand from Belgium.
Yeah.
So the second place car is still Olivier Hart after that quick pit stop, which was confusingly that took place down at the national pits between Woodcote and Copse, because these cars running out of there. We're seeing them now round through the loop and down onto the Wellington Straight, and I think we'll find that the David Tomlin Sierra is probably just coming up towards Village now, so that means Olivier Hart has held on to second place.
But when he's coming towards us, might get Ian to stick the Mark 1 human ear roll out of the door and hear if the BMW sounds quite as crisp as it ought to, because I think the only thing that he might have come in with that they're just going, you just have to get on with it. Low oil pressure, they go, no, okay, right, park it. If it's fluffing a bit, oh, it's misfiring, or I maybe haven't got all the gears. I mean, what else would you come in with where they just say, oh, there's nothing we can do, you might as well just carry on. Anyway, here is David Tomlin, still in third place. So are we heading for a Sierra Cosworth 1-2? Well, the last lap for Olivier Hart was a 3-minute lap compared to 2:20 of David Tomlin, 2:17 of Julian Thomas. But of course, that did involve pottering into the pit lane, having a quick chat, no cup of tea involved, and pottering off again.
Yeah, Ian reports with the commentator's ear hole out of the window that it's short shifting and not quite sounding right. So it sounds like you're right there. It's probably got a top end misfire, and Olivier just wants to keep the car going for the rest of the race. A bit of a smoky Mark 1 Escort there as well. But yeah, it could be a problem in the engine or fueling department, perhaps not quite right. That's the problem they had on Thursday testing, wasn't it? They told us about. Yeah, so maybe that's a recurrence of that little problem they had on Thursday.
Pit stop penalty for Scott O'Donnell because he didn't stop while the pit stop window was open. Pit stop penalty also for Wim Coyle because he didn't stop again. So he came in with a problem and went, yeah, that'll do. I've done a pit stop, yes, but not in the pit stop window. So unfortunately, Wim Kuijl, who started the race so strongly in that white and blue RS 3100 Capri, has got a penalty as well. Here's our fourth place car. Now, first part, when I describe the livery as what colours have you got right, put them on the car, you see what I mean now, don't you? And this is car number 7, and this is Francisco Freitas, and what's his name? Liberal, Luis Liberal, yeah.
Is this one of the art cars, I wonder? Because BMW ran art cars, didn't
it's
they?
not a... Well, they did a lot of that at Le Mans, but it's not a BMW art car from Le Mans. It may have been a BMW Portugal or elsewhere art car, driven by 2 Portuguese drivers. I'm not actually sure of its history. It may well have raced in Portugal, but it's a very distinctive livery, but one that is hard to encapsulate in an easy phrase, other than, say, Technicolor yawn.
And also confirmed in those penalties you just mentioned, the 2 that I said, the short pit stops, number 8, Darren Fielding, who is now running, or was running, in about 6th, 7th place. He's actually dropped out, has he? Yes, he's in the pit lane, so he's a retirement anyway. And the number 31 Camaro that was leading the Tony Dron Trophy, car number 31, where's he now? 15th overall, and he is still leading on the road the Tony Dron Trophy, but I'm afraid they failed to do the longer pit stop required for Phil Quaife, being an elite driver. So their pit stop penalty 51.4, which is 30 seconds plus their short time of 21.4.
Yes, so that means that effectively car number 6, which is Mike Whitaker, is going to move up the order. And so he won't move up the order until the checkered flag falls and the extra time is added to the Thorpe and Quaife car. So it is the number 6 machine that will effectively be the Tony Dron Trophy winner.
And second in the Tony Dron Trophy, 3rd on track at the moment, but second will be Can Bitterim and David Gardner, number 88, in another of the, I think that's the other, thank you very much. No, that's the number 6 car, but I think the number 88 is also in the Patrick Motors Group livery, Patrick Motors Sport to be precise, but Patrick Motors Group was the car dealership in the Midlands which ran these cars. And the number 6 car will be the winner of the Tony Dron Trophy if things carry on as they are. Here's the 88. So this is the other Patrick Motorsport car, Can Bitterim and David Gardner. And that was started by Can Bitterim, so David Gardner now at the wheel.
Still such a great looking car. And one of my all-time favourite Scale Electrics cars as well. A proper tail out, a handful, but a very pretty little thing. And up behind him comes Olivier Hart. There is our current race leader, Julian Thomas. And actually behind him is the RS 3100 of Wim Kuijl, I think, who is 2 laps behind him, but behind him nevertheless. Wim Kuijl down in 18th place, again with the penalty to serve. You have more on our Portuguese.
I do. I have news from Portugal. The Portuguese car, which is Luis Liberal and Francisco Freitas. It's not a car that ran in this colour scheme in period. It's a one-off design by a Portuguese artist, Luis Estevino. And it's not based on an art car.
It is an art car, but it isn't based on a previous BMW authorised art car indeed. So Wim Kuijl down in 17th place, and he's going to drop further than that as well, because he has got that pit stop penalty. He did make a pit stop, but he didn't make a pit stop. He came into the pits with a technical issue, which ain't the same thing. So he's again now showing the pace he's got. Julian Thomas can let him go. This is not the battle you're looking for. Julian Thomas does let him go. 10 seconds on the clock. So this will be the final lap next time round. The checkered flag will be out. So not the time for Julian to get tangled up with the Capri. I think he's probably aware of that.
Yes, he'll get pit board signals at the pits between Woodcote and Copse, telling him where he is in relation to the cars around him.
Yes, as he comes past us now, he'll see one that still says P1, even though the Capri's gone by him, so he'll be reassured in that. Olivier Hart in second place, David Tomlin in third. Let's see how far back a 17-second gap is. I don't think we're going to hold the camera shot that long. It's a shame for some of the issues. Wim Coyle with that lunge that caused the puncture, lunge on this car when they were battling for the lead, and I think probably is a fueling problem for that car. They had an issue with it in practice and in qualifying, and so I think that might have really stuck their head again. Here's the third place car though, David Tomlin. So there are likely to be two Sierra Cosworth RS 500s on the podium.
That's not an original car, but finished in the Batibou livery. I think that was Belgian, wasn't it, if I recall? And David Tomlin had that car finished in that colour.
Checker flag awaits Julian Thomas in the Andy Rouse Ford Sierra Cosworth RS 500. He wins the Adrian Flux Trophy for MRL Historic Touring Cars. Second will be the car that started on pole position and had a great lead battle with former winner Wim Coyle in the Cologne Capri until contact between the two dropped Coyle down the order, and then a technical issue with the car brought Olivier Hart into the pit lane when he looked like he might be able to challenge still for the lead of the race. The car had the legs of the Caliber Sierra, but not the clean running of Julian Thomas's well-proven car. This brand new build BMW with an unfortunate new car issue. It's another case of what might have been in motor racing, but they do take a fine second place. And behind in third spot will be car number 17, David Tomlin, in the green, white and red Ford Sierra Cosworth. And he completes our overall podium. Now those are in Class 4C. In Class 4B for the up to 2 litre cars, here are the winners. And this is car number 7, the BMW E30 M3 of Francisco Freitas and Luis Liberal. They take victory in Class 4B. And we're looking here at the number 33 Capri, the Fabergé Brute 33 car, as we look at our 2 litre class winner, and that is going to be Harry Whale in Class 2B. He is the top of the pile there, 66, the yellow and black Ford Escort will come across the line in a fine 7th place overall, giving chase to the E30 BMW M3 right in front of him. So Harry Whale, the class winner there. And the Tony John Trophy, the times will change, but it looks as though the penalty has been applied to car number 31, the Thorpe and Quaife car, and they still, it seems, are ahead of Mike Whittaker. So it looks as though the Tony John Trophy will be won by car number 31. As Steve Soper brings the brand new build Henry Mann Escort across the line. The 31 machine, the penalty has been applied, and that is our winner in the Tony John Trophy. So the big Chevy Camaro takes victory in the Tony John Trophy, but at the overall race winner, Julian Thomas in the big capacity class ahead of Olivier Hart and David Tomlin. Top of the BMW E30 M3 is the Freitas Liberal multicoloured car from Portugal. Harry Whale wins his category in the Ford Escort in a fine 7th position. And that car having come up from wherever it was, 16th place on the grid. So there are the rest of our finning positions. And we will catch up with our winners and perhaps perhaps, maybe even some of our class winners as well. Down in the pit lane, Ben Constangiris down there, lining up some drivers to talk to. After a hot 50 minutes, there is your winner. Julian Thomas looks like he might need a sit down and a drink and a banana or two.
Yeah, absolutely. Clearly hot work for Julian Thomas. Touring car races were never really 50 minutes long, and that obviously was hard work for you.
Yes, really, really hard work. Round about 8 laps ago, I was like, you're kidding. There's got to be less.
Very, very appropriate that it's an Andy Rouse car in the Andy Rouse Trophy and overall to take victory.
That's the thing that kept me going. Yeah.
I mean, you've worked very hard this weekend. You've done a lot of racing already. What is it about this car that's made it so hard?
It's just a handful.
Yeah.
Just heavy, fast, hot. Gear changes are difficult, steering's difficult, braking is difficult. You name it.
Congratulations, Julian.
Thank you.
Let's go over and talk to the Hearts. Don't feel it, actually. We've spoken to David yet. We've spoken to Olivier yesterday. And another win has eluded the two of them. It was David who started the car. David, it seems to be going well for you in the first part of the race.
Yes, it was nice. Yeah, for me the car is kind of new, so I need to know where I need to shift. It's a stupid story, but it went well.
And describe the feeling of driving this car. As you say, it's new to you guys.
Yeah, it's another car. It's slick tire, and I enjoy it. Really nice, really nice. Yeah, it's a pity that he shipped me off, but otherwise we should win. And my son drove, and the engine gets too warm. That's why we get into the pits. And that's where we lost everything.
Yeah, I was going to ask Olivier, another win eludes you.
Yeah.
Very frustrating for you. What exactly was the problem?
I think we had a sensor issue, but I'm not sure. The oil pressure and the oil temp was all right. So, but yeah, I saw the water temperature was way too high, so I came in. But yeah, we had the speed. We were much faster than the rest, so yeah, it's a bit of shame again. So. It is what it is, and at least the engine is fine. That's more important.
And it's motor racing, as you know.
Thank you.
Let's head over to third position. Here are the tortoise and the hare, David.
The hares, and I am the tortoise. Okay.
The car is here. It's a wonderful looking machine, and you're on the overall podium.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, started P14 and had a good safe run, cautious early on, and paid off, didn't it?
I mean, cautious. You made a few positions and had to clearly push this little thing quite hard.
Well, that's probably true, but it's designed for being pushed, isn't it? Yeah. So I thoroughly enjoyed that. I'm made up to be on the podium, so enjoying it. Yeah.
Wonderful. We'll see you over there.
Excellent stuff. Some very hot drivers after a really long race. 50 minutes in these cars. Pre-power steering and all of the other assists that they have nowadays. As David Hart said, great battle early on between the BMW CSL and period rival Wim Coyle in the Cologne Capri. And an unfortunate lunge down into Copse Corner. Saw them make contact. The end of the race early on for BMW. There was the defining moment in Wim Coyle's race, turning around David Hart and picking up a puncture. And that allowed Julian Thomas through into the lead, a lead in the end that he was not to surrender. Missing the pit window, car number one, staying out and enjoying the lead rather too much. And Julian Thomas wishing that 50 minutes had been more like 30 or 35 perhaps. Continuing in the heat, winning the Andy Rouse Trophy with an Andy Rouse car. Olivier Hart finishing second, but Julian Thomas victorious in the MRL Touring Car Legends.
One of our new partners here at the Silverstone Festival is Supercar Driver. I'm with Adam, the CEO of the company. Now, what is Supercar Driver?
Supercar Driver is a community of supercar owners, and we are all about just giving them a reason to drive. So it's an annual membership fee, and we have sort of 1,500 members UK-wide, and like I say, it's just an event and media business really at the Form.
And a lot of events that they can experience, one every other day?
Yes, we will do 165 events this year. That's quite unique because it's our 15th anniversary, so it wouldn't always do that many, but once you have a nationwide membership and you want to do 1 or 2 things in every region every month, that amounts very, very quickly, plus some European tours, some track days, some other bits, and yeah, there you are.
And why partnering the Silverstone Festival?
We've already do an event at Silverstone called the Secret Meet, and it's something we've done for the last couple of years. I've been coming to the festival or the Classic for many years before that, and to be asked by them to come, I think it was just a bit of a moment, and we just thought, right, we need to come. I think it's good for the members, it's good access, good opportunities.
There's a huge amount of car clubs here at the Silverstone Festival, from 22 members up to 70,000 members, from Volvos to Ferraris and all in between. What makes you guys different?
Well, I mean, I love the variety, by the way. We went past earlier, there's the Volvo Owners Club, and there's and we love all the mix. But for us, I think it is that, it's the variety of supercars that you'll get. Our criteria, even just by, you can see here, we've got Porsche, McLaren, Ferrari, and I think that's really nice. And it's access. We unlock really cool access. We've got a dedicated team.
Go and have a look at some of the cars, because they are stunning, thanks to various friends and partners, I imagine.
Yes, yeah.
Which one's your favourite here? I see Joe Macari has bought some pretty special ones.
Favourite is the Ferrari FXXK.
Just as the 500cc Formula 3 cars fire up behind us, we are going to celebrate our historic touring car challenge, sponsored by Adrian Flux Trophy for MRL and our top 3. After a spectacular 50 minutes, in 3rd position, David Tomlin. In 2nd position, father and son duo, David and Olivier Hart. And once again, on the top step of the podium, Julian Thomas. And a very warm welcome to Andy Rouse, who will be presenting the top 3 trophies. Fantastic to have Andy with us as we celebrate his legacy here at Silverstone this weekend. Presenting the trophy to David Tomlin for 3rd position. David and Olivier Hart in 2nd spot. And how appropriate that Julian Thomas, in an ex-Andy Rouse car, takes the victory and shakes the hand of the man himself. And because he is in that Sierra, Julian Thomas also receives the Andy Rouse trophy. If you could jump as close as possible on the top step of the podium, gentlemen, for a nice big smile. That helps Julian keep standing up as well. Big smile to the camera. That is your podium for the Adrian Flux Trophy for MRL Historic Touring Car Challenge.
That was nearly champagne there, wasn't it? Great to see Andy Rouse here as well, and as Julian Thomas saying, it was what kept him going to win the Andy Rouse trophy in his ex-Andy Rouse car. So, the 500s, oh my lord, settle back and get ready for some action. Let's catch up with some of our drivers with Ed Foster.
Tom, you're on the reserve list earlier this week, and if I told you you not only get to race, but you'll be on pole by several seconds, you probably wouldn't have believed me.
No, it was a very nice surprise. I mean, we always knew we were going to come and practice, and knowing 500s, well, you never know how many of them are going to make it through. So to get in before the event was a nice relief. But yeah, they're cracking qualifying.
I know the car's obviously running like a dream. Where are you making up all the time?
I think actually a lot of it is there were so many cars out there, and some of the speed differentials are really big that I actually got a pretty clear lap on the last lap. So that made a big difference. But I don't know. I like the circuit, and the car seemed to suit it, and it's just about carrying speed in one of these.
And I guess that's the problem when you reach the back markers if you're coming up to lap cars. If you catch them on the apex, it really penalises you.
Yeah, and it's some of the closing speeds are crazy, and you don't want to cause an accident. And we're all friends in this club, so you've got to be gentlemanly, but sometimes you've got to get through. So,
well, look, have a great race. Enjoy it.
Cheers. Thank you.
It sounds like a massive field of old motorbikes. That's because it is a massive field of old motorbike engines. So let's explain 500cc. We'll have a word with a couple of our drivers again with Ed in a moment, and then we'll give you a little bit of backstory if you're not aware of 500s. This is what Formula 3 cars looked like in the 1950s. So it's very much the earliest learning for drivers, rear-engined. And so these were the very first rear-engine racing cars really to catch on. We saw Formula Junior, those cars came in a little later, and they started as front-engine cars. And then front-engine, rear-engine revolution caught up with them as well. See the car being warmed up on axle stands. Well, let's catch up with Ed again and see who he's got words from.
Harry, I'm going to ask you a really boring racing driver question. How long do these tyres last? Because mine only last a weekend on an MGB, but I guess these, you almost get a season out of them.
You can try a fair few more seasons than that. Before this set I bought last year, I was on a set I was given by someone who was given them, and we worked out they were 25 years old. So, yeah, they'd last a while.